This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Eldorado Gaming. Eldorado Gaming is your site for gifts and gaming accessories like dice, playmats, and other items to bling out your games. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Find us on YouTube at Eldorado Gaming TX or our home site at eldoradogaming.com. Here at My Mythical Meta, we talk about gaming with friends and strangers, resolving conflicts, and keeping game nights fun, interesting, and recurring. Our game of choice is Magic the Gathering, but our hope is that what we share is relevant for board gamers, RPG groups, video gamers, and maybe even your poker night. I'm Travis, and with my brother Benjamin and my friends Derek and Randy, we've been playing Magic together since 2014. The secret to a healthy meta is not in the game you play, it's being good friends. Subscribe to My Mythical Meta, presented by Eldorado Gaming, wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to My Mythical Meta! My name is Travis, and I'm joined this week by my brother Benjamin.
Hello.
And he's been gone for a couple of episodes, but he's back! It's Derek!
Gone but not forgotten. Woo!
Derek is back. Derek, you have been on an adventure the last couple weeks. Tell us about it.
This whole year's been an adventure, but let's see. I went camping for the first time in like 20 years.
Wow.
Had a blast. Went fishing for the first time in like 20 years.
Nice.
Or 25
Really?
years. Yeah.
Catch anything?
No, but my niece did.
Well,
She
that
got a
makes it
crappie.
worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we were just about to leave too, and it snagged her hook, and it was a whole thing. Everyone's screaming, having a good time.
Was that the only fish anyone caught all day?
Yeah, that was it.
Classic fishing.
Yeah. I remember the last time I quit fishing, I was like maybe 10, and I had caught the same crab 3 times. And I knew because he had a messed up claw. And then my brother caught the biggest red snapper I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, okay, I'll never fish again. I never want to do this again.
I went fishing with my dad a couple times in high school, but I think I had already poisoned my dad to bringing me because a lot of times when I was young, I would just bring my Game Boy.
Yeah.
And play Pokemon.
Peak King of the Hill vibes.
I know.
Right there.
I mean, King of the Hill is almost a documentary of our family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Benjamin is Luann. I'm Bobby.
You are Bobby. I don't know if I'm Luann.
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. So I went down to see my dad this weekend, and I played pickleball with him. He's not super hot on it yet, but I did play chess with him, and we played 2 games, and I did win one for the first time in my life.
Wow.
That is a call back to our rivalry episode 2. Holy moly.
It was a big moment for me.
It has come full circle. Derek has finally overthrown his father.
I'm the papa now.
You are your own
Derek
grandpa.
finally threw his Darth Vader down the reactor.
Wait, the Emperor.
Yeah.
Don't throw your...
Derek is Darth Vader.
There you go.
And he threw his father down the reactor chute.
I would never be a bootlicker like Darth Vader.
Speaking of bootlickers, your biggest piece of news...
Oh, yeah, I got a new job.
Yeah.
Quit my old
Yeah.
one. Got a new one. I was like, I don't remember licking any boots lately. Yeah, I sadly
that's
had to
the idea.
rejoin capitalism.
Yeah,
Sell
you
my
were
labor.
free from the heel of the man for only briefly, but then realized the man was holding out treats.
Turns out my wife has champagne taste.
Gotta do what you gotta do to please the old ball and chain.
No, your wife's a nice woman.
Yeah,
Very
she absolutely
respectful.
is. And she deserves every bit of champagne she gets.
That's right.
She's the princess.
And she lets us play at your house, so...
I have my wife taking care of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a precious baby.
Your little sugar baby.
That's right. Well, Derek, we are glad to have you back.
Yes.
It's good to be back. I've missed this.
Yeah, we need to do a Martian Colony one. You weren't here for our episode, the one that just got posted, but it made me yearn to play Martian Colony with y'all, because I know Travis has gotten to do it, but I haven't.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Let's do it.
Yeah, we can try again. Do we want to put Mage on hold and do Martian Colony again?
I'm down with whatever.
You know what?
4 grown men trying to find the time.
If we play Martian Colony, I want Benjamin to run it.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
This is perfect, because I had the most brilliant idea for a mage campaign the other day. I was like, I want to do this, but I didn't want us to interrupt or whatever. I can make it work for Martian Colony. It'll be a slightly different background to the main theme. I can make it work. Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Hey, yeah, I'm
that.
game.
All right.
I just can't run more than one game at a time.
Right, of course.
Feel that. I saw a video, this is tangent, that said that Attack on Titan is just meat mechs, and I haven't been able to get over that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It has all the feelings and trappings of the super robot genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like it's completely changed how I view it.
I realized, Benjamin, that I didn't explain the difference during our Martian Colony episode about Super Robot or Real Robot.
Yeah.
Super Robot is things like Mega Man, Astro Boy, isn't one of them called Ultraman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beetleborgs, like
Mega Man X.
the Megazord from Power Rangers. Those are all Super Robot, where it's dressed as a robot, but really it's all magic and supernatural powers.
Right.
While Real Robot,
It's sci-fi.
it's still sci-fi, but it's quote-unquote more realistic.
Right.
So it's all about getting in the cockpit and making sure that it has fuel and making sure that it has ammunition and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. One of the things I really respected about Gundam Wing over a lot of the other Gundam shows, not to turn this episode into another Gundam one.
Martian Colony 2.
Right. But the super robot never really showed up. The Zero system existed, but did not make them unstoppable. There were no psychic powers. There was no, I can hear you through space. You know,
yeah. Which is all the new types, innovators.
Right.
All that stuff, yeah.
There was no one evolving to become superhuman. It was entirely Real Robot and just felt that much more poignant with the points they were trying to make. It wasn't talking about human evolution to the next steps or whatever. And I didn't appreciate that about it when I first watched it, but having watched a lot of the other Gundams.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so, okay.
Okay, back to today's topic. Today's topic springs from news from the Warfront. Derek, get in here.
Beep, 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 beep. Do y'all think it's strange that we keep having new wars break out this year when we started the news from the Warfront? Just food for thought. Continue.
Okay, we have got a news from the Warfront. It's from Reddit. It's from our EDH. No surprise that a Magic player has completely missed a social cue. It says, "Is this a fair concede?" And then they describe a scenario where the poster claims he has the win in this multiplayer free-for-all game. He sends out enough attackers to all three players in order to kill them all. One of the players plays a card that takes control of one of the creatures. He says he doesn't remember, so I think maybe it was just, what does it, take the reins? Or just a control magic at flash speed? Yeah, reins of power, or
insurrection, maybe?
Maybe it's just threaten, or one of the many other threaten effects, or...
Well,
it says he has it that he can use on his own
so-
turn, so...
Yeah, I'm going to look it up.
But, so anyway, he takes control of a creature, of one of them, and then etherizes the rest. Etherize, it's an instant that costs 4 mana, and it takes all attacking creatures, and does it return them to hand or library?
I think it's the hand.
Etherizes to hand, yeah.
Etherizes to hand. So it returns all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. It's a great spell. Honestly, it's really common throughout the game. If his opponent had open mana, he should have worried about it. Just one of those things to keep up with. But anyway, he says the opponent, who pretty much wiped his board and stole his creature, now has the win. So the poster instead gives up. He scoops. We call it scooping in Magic the Gathering whenever you give up or whenever you quit, because of the physical act of scooping up all your cards from your table in front of you back into your deck. So he scoops. It says it was clear he would win, and if I scoop, then I give the other 2 players more of an even chance. And also, when you scoop, the creature that his opponent had stolen disappears.
Yeah.
So he says that this opponent who was going to win gets upset that he's scooping, guilt trips him, and they go through with the win. He says this is with his friend group and not randoms at the local game store. Oh boy. This post has inspired today's episode, which is affectionately titled, "Fine Then, I Quit." I personally... Me, Travis, I have a rich childhood history of quitting games whenever I'm losing. So much so that crossing your arms in a huff and saying, "Fine then," is a deep running family meme. Like, everyone on my mother's side of the family will do this in order to make fun of me as a child when I was in a losing position in a game, because that's what I would do.
Yep.
I would say, "Fine then," cross my arms, and just huff away and walk away. It is also very well known in my family that I was not a pleasant kid. People did not enjoy hanging out with me as a child. So, today's episode is about quitting. Or, if you're a Magic player, call it conceding instead, then it's about being a baby back.
What?
Yes.
Travis said we could use a lot of bleep words
I
today,
am going
so-
to use a lot of bleeps this episode. Maybe not a lot, but
I'm
I am the
gonna.
one who will use the first. Okay?
Hey.
It is just absolutely ridiculous to consider quitting a game as having some type of strategic advantage.
Yeah.
I just can't think of any social interaction where walking away can be seen as a win. Even partially.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because if you go to our EDH or our Magic or any of these other places, there are lots of people who consider it a strategic thing to concede. Magic is interesting compared to most other games in that oftentimes what your opponents do or how you interact with your opponent can change your own position, right? You can take control of their cards and be using their cards against them or against other players. You could be attacking them to gain life or to gain other resources.
Like drawing cards or getting counters, or
Right.
any combat damage trigger can be going off.
Right. Sometimes, they have a piece of removal like an Oblivion Ring that is sitting on the table that if they concede, suddenly somebody gets their thing back. There's all sorts of ways that quitting can remove resources from other players that isn't usually the case in a game like Risk, where if you quit, your armies just stay there. Nothing has changed on the board except that you're no longer attacking people, right? Or Monopoly,
Right.
of course, your stuff just goes back to the game and is free reign for people, or someone takes all your stuff. There are games that aren't designed for people to leave, like Catan, but if you did leave, people could decide what to do. Usually it's probably just going to be remove your stuff from the board and keep playing, right?
Yeah.
But Magic, especially multiplayer Magic like EDH or Commander, as most newbies would hear about it, actually affects the game in tangible ways. And so a lot of players, especially once they start thinking about strategy, will consider a concession as some sort of strategy because it is resource denial. And they say, look, if you don't want me to quit and deny you those resources, you'll attack someone else, or you'll consider, how this will affect your play, and maybe next time you'll think twice. And so they act like it's playing the long game when they decide that they're going to concede now. They're like, I was going to lose anyway, so I choose the moment of concession so that it does the most damage to the person who's winning.
Yeah, it has very much like, I don't care who wins, I just want you to lose the most
Right.
kind of vibes.
It feels like a nuclear option in the absolute opposite way
Yeah.
than the nuclear option would normally be, which is completely focusing on one person only and not worrying about the other two people.
Right. I think today what we're going to set out to do is talk about why this so-called strategic option of scooping or conceding isn't socially acceptable in most situations. So
Right.
I think we all agree on that. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I absolutely think that if you agree to play a game, that is a social contract in and of itself, the act of playing. If you sign up to play and you're there and you draw the cards and you play your opening hand, that's an agreement to play it out.
Yeah.
That's an agreement to play out the whole game.
So when is it socially acceptable to quit in the middle of a game?
When your mommy is here to pick you up and you have to leave. Okay? When your kid is waiting at daycare and the teacher called and said that they're going to fine you a charge for every minute you're late. Here's another one. You have to poop.
Right.
That's it. You can say, well, guys, sorry, I must go.
I'm gonna my pants.
Right. you don't want
Okay.
me to stay.
You do not want me to stay. Okay? Obviously, I'm being snarky with these examples. But again, you agreed to play, and so you should play.
Yeah.
Okay? You should stay until you are knocked out. I just can't think of... Like, Derek, you're our history buff. Can you think of any situation, maybe in a historical war or Sun Tzu or something, where he was like, unconditionally surrender at the right time in order to affect the outcome of something else?
I mean, there may be something that might have been something he wrote about, but I didn't read the book, so I'm not sure.
You were a history major at one point, and I know that
Yeah.
you're just into history in general. Benjamin,
Yeah.
you're a government major.
Sure, I mean,
An unconditional surrender?
Japan
I don't
unconditionally
know.
surrendered in World War II, but that was to prevent being obliterated, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it wasn't like conceding in Magic where concession is nuking yourself, right?
Yeah.
In war, you might concede in order to prevent annihilation and have a chance to play again later. And in a game, it does the opposite.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm trying to demonstrate, is that in a game, conceding is quitting. And if you quit, then you aren't playing the game anymore. You are completely obliterated. You have nuked yourself. With the absence of you, so too are all of your stakes in the game.
Right. Or at least that's how it should be, right? Like, you either
Yeah.
play to win or you play to have fun, and quitting's neither. Quitting is
Yeah.
not playing to win, obviously. We'll talk more about why those arguments about long-term strategy are also wrong, in my opinion. But you're not playing to win now because you're literally losing, and you're not trying to change the stakes in the game because your stakes are gone, right? Like, who wins after
Exactly.
that shouldn't matter. If you're being a good friend who's there to play, you should want everyone else to win on their own merits, right? Like,
Yeah.
now, I think we should probably do another episode sometime on kingmaking. But in this particular case, you're not even doing that. You're just trying to prevent one person from winning for one turn. And then they're going to play on without you. And now you have to sit out and wait for possibly hours with a game like Commander where you've just reset the
Yeah.
board, right? The game was about to be over on your turn. Someone prevented it from being over, but it was going to be over on their turn. And you quitting prolonged the game. Like in this case, it wasn't even strategic from a fun point of view. I can see situations, and I think we're going to talk about them later, where maybe you quit so that you can get to something more fun. But in this case,
Yeah.
you're quitting and not getting to play anymore.
Yeah.
While the three go on without you.
Yeah, in this particular post, the opponent that he's trying to prevent winning was going to win with his card. And it would have been one more turn, and then they all would have shuffled up and started over and played another game. But instead, by quitting and denying that creature, he just sits for an indeterminate amount of time while everyone has empty boards.
Yeah.
Who knows how much longer that game is going to go. And by nuking himself, he just sits there just twiddling his thumbs, watching YouTube videos. I don't know. Or, God, insufferably standing over the table saying what should happen.
Yeah.
Or being passive aggressive, like, can we finish this? Can we wrap this up? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Right?
And we've talked about that on this pod before, about like, if we want to play games together, then we want to play games together. And so we will do things like spreading out damage and trying to make sure that our wins come swiftly.
Yeah.
You know, once we knock one player out, we hope that we've got enough power to do it to the other two players. And especially Randy, he's a super defensive player. He wants to wipe out everybody on the same turn.
Yep.
But that does make a healthy meta for us, where the person who's out first is out for the least amount of time, and we can get back to playing more games.
Yeah.
But again, conceding is quitting, and if you're gone, all of your stakes are gone. You don't have a say in anything that happens anymore. Just like, I don't know, light me up in the comments if you want, but I think once you've broken up with somebody in a relationship, sorry, you have no say in what that person does anymore. If they move on quickly and you haven't moved on yet, so what? If you broke up with them, that's their life.
I thought we were talking about games.
Relationships are a game. No. No.
No,
But
what's that XKCD? Like, the only winning move is not to play.
But if you made the choice to leave, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you made
Yeah.
the breakup choice, then you have no stakes, and the other people, in this case in the game, the other people, or the other person in the relationship that you broke off, they can do whatever they want, and you simply don't have any say in it.
Yeah.
And your emotions about it are completely irrelevant.
Yep.
If you broke up with somebody and then you're upset because they moved on or did something else, I do not feel sorry for you at all.
Yeah. And I think that applies to games. Y'all talked about people going, hey, hurry this up or whatever. But what I usually see when people quit and are still hanging around is they start giving advice. And, hey, you should attack him, or hey, you should play that card, or
We are guilty of that. After one person gets knocked out, they'll stand behind and look at somebody's hand and stuff.
yeah. But I think,
It is different if you quit, though.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are affecting the outcome from beyond the grave. Well, I wanted to address some of those strategic things. I can already hear people out there saying, but it is strategic. What about making them think twice about swinging at me next time or whatever? And I have two answers for that. and I'd love to hear what y'all say. My first one is, when you use a non-game action, something like quitting, or in any other one, right? In this case, you're using a non-game action like quitting, but it could also be a non-game action like who has to sleep on the couch tonight, or a non-game action like
like throwing your drink in someone's face.
Yeah, I'm not giving you a ride home. Whatever it is, flipping the table. To affect the outcome of the game, you're now playing a different game, and one that the other players didn't agree to.
Yeah.
When you sit down to a game of Magic, you assume in your head that the strategies, rules, game pieces that the other player is going to use are the ones that are in their deck and the ones that are part of the official rules. Now, conceding is in the official rules, but it was really designed for a one-on-one game.
Like, the fact that there are rules about conceding is so bizarre to me, especially in a one-on-one game, because it just means they pick up their things and lose.
Right.
That's all the rules really are about. Then it comes to a multiplayer game where it starts to matter. But all the rules do is accommodate the fact that the person who's quitting, it's assumed that they are leaving.
Right. Yes, it really is.
That they are going to pick up all of their cards and leave the store.
Yeah.
Or the tournament or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they're going to move to their next game.
Yeah, because the rules realize that you cannot hold people hostage, that the game pieces cost money and are valuable and can't just stay on the board when someone's needs to go.
Some people have to poop and you just have to let them go.
Right. Somebody's mommy is here to pick them up, and you got to let them go and not keep their $50 card in front of you.
Right.
And so the rules are designed with those sorts of things in mind. It's interesting, like you said, that Magic's one of the few games that has so many rules about what happens when a player leaves the game. But it happens, and a player might leave the game through not conceding, right? They get knocked out while you control their creature or whatever, and the game needs to deal with that. So all those rules are out there, and you are kind of in control over it with your concession, but a concession is not a game action in the same way as losing is. Losing, someone else usually controlled that loss in a way that they can't control your concession. And so my first response is, you have decided to introduce something that's not part of the game to the game situation, and that's not something that y'all agreed on when you sat down.
Yeah.
The other reason why I think it's not actually strategic is because people can't actually predict your concession. If they're swinging out at you, right, they're attacking with all their creatures at you and they will kill you. They don't know if you have a response, an instant like the one in question here, like Reigns of Power or something like that. They don't know if someone else is going to step in and save you because you have some strategic advantage to them. So they have to try.
Yeah, because that's how the game works.
Right, exactly.
People have to try to win.
Yeah, and so they cannot guess when you will and will not concede. So you haven't introduced an element of strategy of making them think twice on when to pick on you. You've just introduced an element of randomness that they can't predict and made the game less fun for everyone. And so this is where, I said it in a previous episode where I mentioned, I think we were talking about cheating or something similar, where you win less long-term because you chose to win now. In this case, you play less long-term because you chose to quit now. If you do this too often, people like us, people who are fun to play with, don't want to play with someone who's going to play a different game.
Yeah.
Right?
You should play as if you want to be invited back.
Right. And you should play how you want other people to play. None of you listening who strategically concede, quote unquote, can honestly say that when you're swinging out with a lifelinker, hoping to put yourself up to enough life to survive the next person who's going to swing at you, that you want the person you're attacking to concede and deny you that life gain. None of you can say that that's what you want. And so because of that, the social contract for a game like this is take the hit, right?
Yeah, take your licks.
Yeah. If you're in the position where someone else...
Accept the loss.
Yeah. You have to lose, in a 4-player game, you're going to lose 75% of the time. And it means when you are in that losing position, make it a fun time for yourself and other people. Don't sit there and try to make it some sort of long-term strategic thing. They're not going to remember it. They're playing with a bunch of people. They're not going to remember who strategically concedes and who doesn't. It makes no difference except that you ruined someone else's game through non-game actions. That's all. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's strategy like people want to say. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. And I just would not invite somebody back who thought that standing up and picking all their cards up just to get at me.
Yeah.
It's just petty. It's spiteful. And that's not the type of person that I invite over to game night.
Yeah. Derek, you've been pretty quiet. What do you think?
Well, I was sitting here thinking, because we're talking about doing like a strategic scoop where doing something on someone else's turn to deny them some way. But what if we scoop, like, we untap, draw our first card, it's not going to save us, and we just quit. We just like, hey, I scoop, whatever. Are y'all okay with it then?
Maybe.
So at first, I was okay with it because I know that I've done this before. If my opponents are so far ahead or have such a lock on the game that I am in an unwinnable position and there's no card I could draw to get me back, then usually on my own turn, I will quit and say, there's nothing I can do here. You've won. But Benjamin, you had a point that, again, it is part of the game and my presence might still be necessary for another player.
Yeah, I think that generally I'm okay with it if no one has control of your creatures and you don't have something like an Oblivion Ring or something like that where your quitting will change the game state.
Yeah.
I think that if your quitting changes the game state, you should stay in. So... if I don't have some stacks piece, what was that card that you played against my Zakama deck that really shut it down?
Drana and Linvala.
Yeah. I think if you had conceded in that game when someone had board wiped and you're like, man, there's no way I can replay my commander. I have a bunch of enchantments on the board that aren't doing anything. I'm going to lose at this rate because people can just attack me with giant dinosaurs. And I can't draw enough creatures fast enough to stop it. Like, if you had scooped there, you would have changed the game for other people in an important way, right?
Right, because it would have completely freed you to just go off.
Right. And
yeah, well, it also freed me too because you had that ethereal absolution.
That's right.
That I could have gotten back into.
Yeah. So because you're shutting down two people, that Randy's not going to swing at you.
Even though that's exactly what he did.
Well, yes.
Listen, he's not a smart man. He's just a good man.
Yes, he did.
I was literally holding down his two enemies, and he came and killed me.
Right. But you did know that both I and Derek wanted you gone, and so you knew that you probably wouldn't survive, but you stayed in it and made us kill you, or made Randy kill you. And I think that's how it should be, that even if you know you're going to lose and you're in what basically amounts to an unwinnable position, if leaving changes the board state, you should stay. And I actually have I didn't think of this before, I have a great example of this. I was watching somebody play some weird game, or watch some simulation. I can't believe, it was some stupid thing YouTube.
Life is a simulation.
It was some stupid thing that YouTube
If it is, they need to lower the difficulty. I'm not having a good time.
Where are the difficulty settings? I want story mode.
Where's the infinite
I want
money
to put
setting?
subtitles on.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's the command prompt for Rosebud?
Yeah.
Motherload, 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 motherload.
It was a really weird simulation where basically it was a map of the United States and they would start attacking each other and making money. And what this guy did is he basically said, okay, let's turn on the simulation, and then every 5 years we're going to delete the weakest state. And basically it just created a vacuum that the other states would fill in. And Sarah and I were watching this, and it was, I don't know, it was the stupidest thing. We were just enthralled for whatever reason. And we realized that the weakest states, a lot of times we're all in the same area, like up in the Northeast where all the states are small and whatever. And what ended up happening is every time one of those small states got deleted, it allowed basically another Northeastern state to fill in. And what ended up happening is Ohio, which didn't start in a great position, ended up owning the entire eastern half of the United States because every time some small state near it got deleted, it would just fill in, and other states didn't have access to those resources because, all the big states are in the West. And it was just a weird coincidence where Ohio was bigger than Texas and California and Alaska at the end of the game, because basically, in an equivalent to what we've been talking about, the losing players were quitting early.
Right.
And it changed the outcome of the game when that happened.
Yeah, like who knows what would have happened if those losing countries... I mean, I don't know what mechanics this YouTuber was playing with.
Yeah.
But in games with variants, like last week's episode, like anything could happen, I guess.
Yeah. And in games where even the loser can be affecting the game in some way, right? Like, well, I have 20 life and you have 11 flyers, so even if I draw a creature, you're going to knock me out in 2 turns. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, okay, but you have to swing those at me to get me out, which means you're buying 2 turns for other people.
Yeah, that's the action economy that you're forcing that person to spend.
Yeah. I think there are situations where you're so weak that people don't care about you anymore, and that it's okay for you to pack up and shuffle and do other things. But I think that in the situation where that's not the case, I think you should stay.
Fair enough.
I am going to pull in some of my professional learning community training, some of my education language. A lot of working in a professional learning community is making group decisions. And there's a phrase that came up every year, with my group, and especially in training, is to determine when the will of the group is evident. If I'm playing in a multiplayer game and a winner is clear and the will of the group is evident and the group has decided it's time to start a new game, again, maybe in some stacks scenario, or maybe Derek just smashed somebody with Gishath and all 7 of them were dinosaurs.
Hell yeah, brother.
Just like when the will of the group is evident and the group says there is a winner, let's start a new game, I think that's an acceptable time to quit also. I don't need to play out Derek's next turn where he starts enraging all of his dinosaurs, swings with Gishath again, and get 7 more dinosaurs. I don't need to see that.
Yeah, we stay mad, baby.
They stay mad.
And Travis, I think this is something you actually do pretty well. You'll look around and go, hey guys, I'm ready to stop if y'all are. We can play the next game. And you'll kind of feel out, you'll communicate and see if people are ready to stop or not. But then if people say, no, I want to play this out, you don't quit.
Yeah.
At least not till your turn when it's not affecting things.
Right.
You do sometimes quit on your turn when you think you can't win. I don't think you've ever done that if you've had an Oblivion Ring or someone else's. Like, I don't think you've ever done it to take away someone's creature.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. You said you've done it before, and I wasn't trying to call you out because I think you're good about this.
Yeah, like I said, that is my training, is to just feel out what the group wants. I want the group to have a good time, and if the rest of the group is having a good time fighting against that lock or fighting against that archenemy, then I'll stay in. But, I've been playing the game for a long time, and most of my decks are on Architect, so I know the cards in my deck pretty well. And if I can just think there is not a single card in this deck that unlocks me from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek, this game comes up a lot. This guy had Narset, the one that lets you cast spells for free and has hexproof.
Yes.
And he had a Planeswalker deck, and he managed to get Dovin Bond's ultimate emblem out, which is your opponents can only untap 2 lands per turn.
Yeah. Okay, dude, you did it.
I was like, that's an emblem. I can't come out from under that.
Yeah.
So I looked around. I said, hey guys, he got the Dovin Bond emblem. I'm all tapped out right now, and he did that on his turn. So there's nothing I can draw in my deck that's less than 2 mana that can help get us out from under this. So is everybody okay? And I think we did end up conceding and starting a new game after that one.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like he did like a bunch of infinite turns.
Yeah, he did some infinite turn stuff.
Which I think is how he got to that ultimate.
In order to get that ultimate off, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't infinite turns, but he was Narsetting with enough extra turn spells that he was able to plus Dovin enough times to get his ultimate off.
Yeah, because I think we had enough creatures on the board where he couldn't actually get in and kill us.
Yeah.
Each turn or something like that. I don't know.
But it was going to be a long slogged out game.
Yeah, this is about a 6 or a 7. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
I'll never forget.
But, in a situation like that where I feel completely locked out, that's when, I can look around the board and say, to me, the winner is evident. If anybody else has stuff, we can keep going. But I'm letting the board know, I'm letting all the players know that, to me, the winner's evident and there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here are some actual acceptable times to quit. When the will of the group is evident and they want to start a new game. When you have to poop, that is a legitimate reason.
Yeah.
Or some other actual emergency. Maybe you do need to actually leave, or your ride is here to pick you up. Again, those are socially acceptable reasons to quit the game and pack up and move. Sometimes there's just unavoidable situations. And again, like we said earlier, that's what Magic's rules are meant to accommodate. The fact that somebody, at some point, it will happen, they just have to pick up their cards and leave.
Yeah.
That's what the rules are meant to be accommodating. And to me, quitting is leaving the room, leaving the shop, leaving the apartment, leaving the house.
Yeah.
If you quit, I don't know that you're entitled to another game in the same group. That's just me.
At least not tonight, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think in our group.
No, yeah.
If you spite quit to specifically deny somebody resources that they would have gotten, Randy's a lifelinker dude.
Yeah.
So if he's taking the turn the combat step to fight you out, to true conviction his own way, back up with his lifelink, and you decide to concede to deny him that, I think the rest of us are going to give him his life gain anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right? I mean, if you quit, you don't have a say in what we get to do with your triggers. You don't have a say in what we decide the rest of the game goes.
And I think that'd be a good addendum here for how other people should handle it. We didn't really have it in our outline, but I think for the sake of the integrity of the game, it should be standard practice that if someone tries to strategically concede to deny resources to someone, that the rest of the group, insofar as it's possible, obviously if you're leaving and you got to take your creature with you, we don't just let you keep the creature necessarily.
Right, but we can certainly pretend.
Yeah.
We can certainly pretend that it's still there. We can draw up an infinite token or pull it up on somebody's phone.
Or even go so far as to say, like, hey, at least for one round so that you have a chance to adjust, we will pretend that it was there to block. Or something.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just ruin the game. And, give them their life gain and attack and combat damage triggers. Make that a thing where we say...
if they've got coastal piracy, I'm going to let them draw their cards even if you quit.
Yeah, I think that should become the norm. Hey, yes, the rules say this is how you handle someone leaving the game, but that's clearly meant to be what happens when someone loses the game, not when someone quits, quote-unquote, strategically. And we will ignore those and pretend that they were actually there and then lost. I think that should be the norm.
Sorry, buddy. You quitting did nothing. You weren't strategic. You were just a loser.
Yeah. And I think if more groups handled it that way and just did not accommodate the strategic quitter, it would stop being strategic.
Yeah, I think it would become more commonplace.
What would become more commonplace?
Just the act of staying till the end of the game.
Right, yes. The thing we want to encourage.
Yeah, people staying in the game. Don't be a quitter, guys.
No.
If you quit for any reason other than pooping, then you're a baby back.
Or an actual emergency that we can't control.
A poop-related emergency. Amazingly, you thought news from the Warfront was over? What about second news from the Warfront? News from the Warfront.
The squeakquel.
We have a second news from the Warfront from an actual listener.
Woo!
Guys, it happened. We got an email from a listener at mymythicalmeta@eldoradogaming.com. If you have a prickly social situation in a game and you want some qualified experts to give you some advice, maybe get a therapist, but otherwise you can call on us and we are ready to give some advice. So here we go. It says, "Hello, MMM crew." Derek, we decided that we are the Metapods.
Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't that make you want to harden?
Well, I stay hard for starters.
Hello, MMM crew. I was recently named the new GM of a long-running board game event that up until a few years ago, the same guy who founded it had GM'd for 30 years. We did clarify with the viewer, the word GM does mean Game Master here, but it's kind of more like the game manager. At these tournaments, there are lots of different board game sections, and each board game has its own tournament. So it's kind of like a manager.
Or like an
a general
organizer
manager,
or something.
Yeah, an organizer of that game's tournaments. So this is a long-running board gaming event. It's 30 years old. It says the guy who founded it, the next guy after him, had to step down, and then it fell to our listener. So we called up the founder and asked for some advice. He said, hey, this is my first time. I'd like some advice from somebody who's done it successfully in the past. He says, though, instead, this guy volunteered to step back into a planning role and help. So this guy kind of reasserted some planning authority and came back in. But now, even though I'm the GM and he's an assistant, he has started making decisions without consulting the rest of us. In some cases, he's even signed things, contractual obligations, or put money down, which makes it really awkward. I could say, I'm in charge, sorry, your fault for not running it by me, go with other choices and he'd be out the money, but I don't really want to do that. Especially since I think he's just so used to running things that it's coming naturally. He's a good person. I have tremendous respect for him. He doesn't mean it badly, but our reader does believe that the second guy is out of line. This is a longtime listener because they bring up I think, I feel statements and compliment sandwiches about some possible ways to bring it up, trying to avoid a power struggle. He says it's not a power struggle, but if I have that authority position, that's my job, then it's my job to make those decisions, and those decisions are kind of being usurped.
Yeah.
He just kind of asks, what do we think? What are some ways that we would have this conversation with this old timer, this guy who's led the event for many years, but has kind of taken control out from the person who was given authority to do it?
Okay, well, I think the listener's certainly on the right track with the compliment sandwiches and I statements, right? Anytime you're going to broach a difficult subject with someone, you want to start with saying things that put them at ease, right? You want to use an amicable approach, something that lets them know that you're not against them, that y'all are on the same side, maybe with a similar goal.
Yeah, they both want this to be a good event.
Exactly. They're not actually against each other. They have the same goal. They have many of the same ideas. They just need to delineate who's supposed to do what and who has the final say. So it should not be adversarial. It needs to be collaborative. And so starting with things that recognize that show your respect, that shows that you're not necessarily angry. Maybe you are, but that shows that ultimately you're just trying to resolve a communication issue so that both of you can get what you want, I think is important. So I'm glad that they pointed that out, that they were going to use the I statements and compliment sandwiches that we've been talking about in basically every episode and use that to good effect. Do you have any examples of how they might start that off so that it doesn't sound like they're attacking this person?
Sure. So some good compliments that this person could use would be, I respect your experience.
Yeah.
Say, I wouldn't still be coming to this gaming event if it weren't successful for many years.
Yeah, if it weren't for you.
Yeah, if it weren't for you. So you can give them props, you can butter up their ego, and really mean it. We're not trying to manipulate this person.
Right.
But we do want to honor the hard work they've done in the past to create a great event. And you can do that in your first level of compliments at the beginning of whatever this discussion turns out to be. Some good I statements. I feel and I think. Remember that you want to highlight your emotion and then highlight the action that causes it. We call it an I statement, and we're going to leave the word you out of it. So it is not about the person or their personality. It's just about the actions that have been taken. So we might say things like, I feel unnecessary, or I feel unwanted, or I feel, I don't know,
useless.
What's another one? I feel useless when important decisions are made without me.
Yeah.
Or I feel useless when I'm not the one making the decision.
Right. Or I feel insecure when I'm not doing the...
Yeah, it's fine to admit those feelings.
Yeah, I feel insecure when I'm not doing the role that was assigned to me.
Yeah, exactly. He was assigned to this authority position, and now he doesn't have the opportunity to act on it. Now, in a lot of cases, we would come back to the other side with another compliment. You know, you have such great experience. I want you to guide me. But that kind of gets us to the last part of one of these conflict resolution scenarios. So we've done the compliment sandwich, I think, I feel, and the last part of your conflict resolution is called I need. And you give this person some tangible, actionable moves that they can make. Some action items. All the positive professional learning communities, all the positive PLCs I've ever been in, on our agenda we have action items. What are the tangible action items we can do so that we're ready for next time? So, what do you need this person to do? Tell me what you did in the past that was successful. That's a need.
Yeah.
I need you to suggest caterers. I mean, I don't know what all this person's organizing.
Right. Yeah, I think a big one would just be, I need you to leave the final decisions to me.
Yeah. I need financial decisions to go through the company card.
Right. Or the committee.
You can't make financial decisions. But again, don't say you can't, say I need.
Yeah. I need financial decisions to go through the appropriate approval process. And notice you haven't said anything about them. You're saying, I feel insecure. I need this. You never once accused the other person of anything. You said, hey, you did
being a real
Derek, that one wasn't even necessary. You just wanted me to beep something.
Yeah. Just wanted to jump in and remind people I'm still alive.
Yeah, a great example of this the whole way through. Hey, you've been such a good GM on this for 30 years. You're honestly the reason I'm part of this event at all. I really appreciate how much advice and wisdom you have to offer me in my role.
Ooh, that's really good because it focuses it back on the standing agreement.
Right, yeah.
What was agreed in the first place.
Yeah. And then you say, over the past few weeks, I've noticed that things have been signed or money has been put down that I did not agree to. I feel insecure when I'm not the one performing the role that I've been assigned. I need financial decisions to go through the appropriate approval process and to be the one to sign things. Notice the only time I said you was when I was complimenting them. And otherwise, I said I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one with a negative feeling. And this is what I need to address my negative feeling. And when I used to teach this, my kids were always so confused. They thought it was beating around the bush or whatever, but it's not. You've identified exactly the problem and exactly the solution, but it keeps people from getting defensive. And if they get defensive, you say, I didn't say you did anything wrong. I'm not accusing you morally of having done something. I recognize that I have an issue that I need resolved, and I want you to help me resolve my issue. Like, you help me. And people are much more willing to help than to give in to being accused.
Yeah.
And so it shows that you're on the same page. You're like, hey, I want us to be a team that works together on this instead of us struggling over power.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the worst case scenario version of this conflict that says, you've been doing all of this, blah, 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 and I want you out.
Yeah.
Like, that is not our end goal here. This person has lots of great experience to be mined. And as somebody who, it's your first year, you need that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you need this person. So coming in with a power struggle or being accusative, or certainly with name-calling, those are going to cut this person out completely.
Yep. Yeah, and the event will be worse because of it, right?
Yeah.
Chances are, a lot of the decisions they've been making and things they've been doing are actually good. You can even compliment those and say, I really appreciate that you had that idea. It really helped streamline things. So you can even tell them what you did wasn't bad. I just need it to be through a different process. Notice how, once again, it focuses on your own need and says, you didn't do anything wrong necessarily. I think we had a miscommunication that I want resolved.
Yeah.
Now, if that person is not willing to meet you halfway on that, then that's a different issue, and maybe they do need to be removed, right? That's always a possibility. Some people are not well adjusted. Yeah. Some people are either I do everything or nothing or whatever, but at least you will have given it an honest shot at reaching a common ground before you tried to shove them out.
This is where my suggestions come in.
Okay, what are your suggestions?
So I don't think
Derek said, okay, first you find out where he lives.
That's really, you just gotta
go to his home, dig up all his bushes.
You gotta really salt the grass.
Get his homeowners association to go after him.
Put religious iconography in his front yard.
Ooh, that'll get him. So this thing's been this guy's baby for 30 years. Probably a huge part of this guy's life.
Yeah.
I'm assuming his name is Bill. It seems like a Bill type of guy to me.
Let's call him Bill.
Yeah, okay. So Bill's been doing this for 30 years. He helped founded it, so it's his baby. He asked for your help to run it. And if if there's a power struggle or whatever, you can't have two people with the hands on the wheel or you're going to crash. You both want this thing to succeed. So either he's got to go or you got to go. This is, after you've done all the niceties and stuff like that. He's probably just having a hard time letting go.
Yeah.
Which I mentioned beforehand. My wife and I have been watching Kitchen Nightmares, and one of the things, the owners just will not give up power and let people do their jobs until Gordon sits them down and says you got to stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's probably an uncomfortable thing, but it's something he's probably not aware he's doing. So it's probably not going to be a big deal once you actually say it out loud and just say, hey, like what Bender was saying about, I don't remember what he was saying. Anyways, hey, the things you're doing are great, but I need to be the one making the calls so I can get the experience for when you're actually gone for not for good or for dead or whatever.
Well, but yes,
not around anymore.
When you're dead, I need to be able to take over.
Yeah, so
I need the experience.
yeah, so like if you're just doing everything for me, I'm not gonna be successful after you're actually gone.
Oh, man, Derek coming in with legacy.
Yeah.
What is a legacy?
Let's try to get this for 30 more years.
Dang, that's real good.
Oh, dude, he needs to train a protege. Dang, Derek, I'm so glad you're back, man.
Yeah.
You know, I've been saving them up.
Derek's words of wisdom creeping back in.
Now, wait a second.
Which one of you wants to do the words of wisdom today? We got any more for our listener here?
Yeah, I think, there's always the make sure that you confront him about all this in private.
Yeah, you don't want to do this with an audience.
But then kind of the second round of, hey, if that first...
If you're a coward.
What?
I said, if you're a coward.
No, just...
Don't actually do it. It's bad advice. I'm a bad role model.
So, yeah, you want to make sure that you do it in private and you give them a chance to save face and all of this stuff. And then I think that if things continue, regardless of how he responds, right? If things continue in a way that's unacceptable, you do have to get the other people on your team on board with, hey, it's either got to be one way or the other. So I, at that point, would call a meeting and talk about norms as a group.
Yep.
Here's the hierarchy. Here's who makes the final decisions. And, again, you never call that person out, but probably some people will know. He will certainly know who you're talking about, but that's okay. The fact that it's now public and it's been addressed with everyone has set like a line in the sand, basically, in a respectful manner. And you demonstrated that you're the one who gets to make that call by hosting a meeting and being in charge of it. I don't know how much we want to get into group dynamics and how to actually win a power struggle and all that. Go read Sun Tzu or Machiavelli or whatever.
Oh my god.
But
let's not send him to Machiavelli, please.
It's better to be feared than loved.
Oh no.
Anyways, but in most cases where people are earnestly trying to help and not trying to usurp your position, the stuff we've already talked about is going to be adequate to resolve the conflict.
I'm satisfied. I hope our listeners.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, y'all want to have a power struggle for the words of wisdom?
Derek, since you...
Please, Benjamin,
No.
be my guest.
No, Derek, absolutely. You've been gone so long, we've missed your words of wisdom.
Right. Okay, so here we go. Your words
Here
of
we
wisdom
go.
this
Bad
time.
boy podcaster.
You're going to want a silent quit. You act your ways, the most important thing to do. Do not work harder, and you should be jumping jobs every 2 years for a pay raise. I've made $40,000 in 7 years. Keep doing it.
Ooh, dude.
Really?
Holy.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
Okay.
Don't stay at the same job.
I did not make that much staying as a teacher for 9 years.
Me neither.
Okay. All right, Derek. I need to listen to you more often.
Hey, listen, I got chestnuts.
You need to start your own podcast.
You got some real acorns on YouTube.
Here's my financial podcast. Rule number 1, don't spend money. Rule number 2, put it all in one room and hoard it like a dragon.
Oh my god. And speaking of dragons, we have got some new products lined up. By the time this podcast comes out, you will see a renovated website with new, beautiful graphics, organization, and it's going to make your shopping experience so much better. Go to eldoradogaming.com for a new updated website and for some new products, including the Captain's Cash Dice Tower and Box, the Dragon Scale Scroll Case, and the Worm Scale Dice. Check out all of those great new products, and remember to use promo code META for 10%
Y'all,
off.
the Captain's Cash box and Dice Tower
Is legit.
It's so nice. It's a place to put all your dice. It comes with the tower that fits inside. You open it up. It just feels so good. I'm so happy that we have these.
It is really beautiful, and I think I need to purchase one myself just to say that I have it because it's so nice. Oh my god!
Do we get an employee discount?
If we use promo code META?
That's the code that's available to everybody.
Are you saying any regular John that listens to this podcast could use code word META to get a discount on all your products? Are you kidding me?
10%
now?
off.
Yes, that is the case. 10% off. And playtesters of Martian Colony can get 15.
Oh, yeah. If you have not listened to episode 16 about Martian Colony, go back and do that. It's really fun. And also, if you're into RPGs, role-playing, and especially if one of the favorite things about your game is character creation, then email us at mythicalmeta@eldoradogaming.com and ask us for access. And then, yes, we will send you a code for 15% off.
You can play test Martian Colony for free and get an eldoradogaming.com code for 15% off.
Just play it,
practically
cowards.
giving this stuff away.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Great episode,
Yeah,
guys.
enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, listener, for listening, and thank you guys for being my great friends. Adios.
Bye.
Later.
This episode was sponsored by Eldorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.